Well, hello there, fellow mammalogists. I have to admit, I have been looking forward to constructing and delivering this lecture really since I started building the class. So this is lecture 6.2. Today we're going to be exploring the orders Carnivora and then the closely related but small order, the Pholidota. This lecture aligns with chapter 18 in your textbook. So today we'll be surveying the 16 families that are in the order Carnivora, including the Felidae, like the clouded leopard here on the top left, the Hyenidae, like the spotted hyena, the Viviridae, like the banded palm civet you see here, the Canids, like the dhole dog shown here, the Mustelidae, which is a family that includes the giant river otter found in the Amazon River, the Procyonidae, like this adorable kinkajou. We used to have a kinkajou at the Austin Zoo named Keisha, and she would use her prehensile tail and hang from my arm, and I would feed her strawberries on tours. And then let's see, the Ursidae, of course, like the spectacled or Andean bear of South America. And then we'll cover the three families of the pinnipeds, the feather-footed mammals. So this is the Phocidae, the family Phocidae here. This is a ringed seal. And then we'll finish the lecture with the small order Pholidota, which is the pangolins, or the scaly anteaters. Really important group of species that you need to learn about because they are critically endangered and their populations are declining quickly. So let's do this. By now, you certainly recognize our two phylogenetic trees, both Meredith on the left and Springer on the right. Recognize that the order Carnivora and the order Pholidota are closely related orders. They share the most recent common ancestor, some 70 million years ago, and both are part of the larger superorder that we've already started exploring, the Laurasia. So right out of the gates, I need you to recognize that there is a great deal of variety, of diversity among the 16 families and approximately 300 species in the order Carnivora. Of course, the order Carnivora includes the awe-inspiring large terrestrial predators such as the gray wolf, the bears, the big cats, as well as charismatic species such as panda bears and meerkats. Lesser known among the carnivores are the smaller species, such as this least weasel here that's got him or herself a nice reptilian snack. This is the smallest member of the order Carnivora. So carnivores do exhibit a broad diversity in feeding habits as well as in their degree of sociality. Most carnivores are going to eat meat. Although meat is easier to digest than vegetation, we don't need a rumen if we're a carnivore. Meat, the animals carrying meat, must still be located, captured, killed, and consumed. So it's not easy being a carnivore. The carnivore here in this lecture means members of the order Carnivora. We're not talking about carnivory, the mode of feeding that we've already discussed. Let's see, carnivores are the major mammalian predators on planet Earth. They're often keystone species. They have a huge, outsized impact on ecosystem structure and function. Carnivores occur naturally on all continents except for Australia, although the dingo has been introduced to Australia. And carnivores have adapted to a diverse array of ecological niches in a variety of both terrestrial and aquatic habitats that we'll explore now. The order Carnivora can be further subdivided into two suborders. The first is the Caniformia, the dog-like carnivores here on the top. and the second is the Feliformia, or the cat-like carnivores, on the bottom. So this is the first split in the branch of the order Carnivora. It's an ancient split that occurs some 70 million years ago. So these two groups of carnivores, these two suborders, are distinguished from each other by the structures of their auditory bullae, the round structures at the base of the skull that's going to amplify hearing, as well as the carotid arteries, the circulation of the carotids in the neck. So we'll start with the suborder Feliformia. So that includes obviously the felids, the cats, the closely related Prionodontidae, which are the linsangs. And then if we back it out, it's going to include the Hyenidae, the hyenas, the Viverridae, which are the civets, and then we've got the Herpestidae, which are the mongooses. And then this is an ancient split in the mongooses. These are the mongooses, or the mongoose, that radiates on the island of Madagascar. So the Eupleridae are the Malagasy, or Madagascar mongooses. And then that leaves us here with the Nandinidae, which is a monotypic order that includes the African palm civet. All told, there are about 56 genera of extant feliforms. The other suborder, the Caniformia, of course, includes the canids, the dog family. And then we've got the aquatic carnivores here, collectively known as the Pinniped. So let's see here. The Phocidae, those are the earless, or the true seals. The Odobenidae is the walrus. And then the Otaridae are the fur seals and the sea lions. Moving right on down, the Mephididae, these are the skunks. The Aluridae, this is monotypic. This is the red panda, highly unique species. The Procyonidae are the raccoons. And the Mustelidae are the weasels, otters, wolverines. And then we have the Ursidae here, which are the bears. We'll begin with the family, the Felidae, the cat family, the namesake of the suborder, the Feliformia. Members of the cat family are distributed worldwide except for Australia, New Zealand, surrounding islands, polar areas, other islands like Madagascar and Japan, and most oceanic islands in the Pacific. Obviously, the cats couldn't get there. That said, our domestic cats have been introduced to the vast majority of these places. Bergen et al., 2018. I'm sure you recognize this publication by now. These authors recognize 14 genera and 42 species of cats. So cats are characterized by that shortened rostrum, which is going to generate, with that shorter lower jaw, a greater bite force, as I discussed way back in Module 1. They also have very well-developed carnassial teeth for shearing meat, as has been previously discussed as well. They have a reduced number of post-carnassial teeth, and then they have those large canines that are highly specialized for delivering an aimed lethal bite. So cats are typically going to kill by crushing the trachea and suffocating the animal, as shown here by this beautiful Bengal tiger. Or they're going to deliver a bite to the base of the skull and sever the spinal cord. Felid cheek teeth are blade-like and adapted for seizing and slicing meat from prey rather than for crushing bones, as we see in the hyenas and the canids. Although they are all morphologically similar, Felid body masses exhibit 3 orders of magnitude difference. That's huge, ranging from just 1 kilogram in the diminutive rusty spotted cat here on the left, all the way up to the massive Siberian tiger, which can weigh in excess of 300 kilograms, which is about 660 pounds. Large felids like those tigers and lions are noted for their ability to roar. The roar is generated by this flexible cartilage that replaces the hyoid bone at the base of the tongue and is going to vibrate. And then it's going to allow the smaller species like your house cat to purr. Other than in the cheetah, all cats have retractable claws. So if you spend any time in the field tracking carnivores, you can always tell the difference between canid and felid tracks by looking for claws or the absence of claws. The resting position of those claws in cats is actually in. The dorsal surface of cats' tongues are lined with papillae, pointed backwards, and that's what's going to give cat tongues that sandpaper feel. It's going to allow them to better lap up water and then to effectively clean, to groom their fur. Felids occur in numerous habitat types, from sea level tigers all the way up to 6,000 meters at the top of the Himalayas. Think about your snow leopards. The felids are strictly carnivorous, requiring a diet high in protein, the most carnivorous of the carnivores. Most felids are nocturnal. They are very agile, and they're either going to stalk their prey or they're going to wait and then pounce in ambush like the leopards. Unfortunately, populations of felids are decreasing either because of overhunting, habitat loss, or the fur trade. Felids classified as endangered by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, the IUCN, include the Iberian lynx, the tigers. There are multiple subspecies of tiger, the Andean cat, the Borneo bay cat, and the flat-headed cat. This is the Amur leopard. So it's a subspecies of leopard that lives in southeastern Russia and northern China. It's likely the most critically endangered big cat on planet Earth, with a surviving population of only about 110 individuals, as estimated by the last census. Cats prey almost exclusively on mammals and birds, although this fishing cat is going to consume fish, frogs, and even mollusks. So check out this cat's kittens on their first trip to the water. It is adorable as they explore. And then at the end of the short 3 minutes, you'll see Mom, how effective she is, how adept at pouncing and grabbing large fish. So check out the footage on fishing cats. The family Prionodontidae is comprised of the Asian linsangs. So there's just one genus and 2 species of linsangs, and they are the banded linsang, as shown here, and the spotted linsang. So they occur in Southeast Asia, including the Malay Peninsula, Borneo, Java, Sumatra, and other islands. Although these 2 species do not geographically overlap. There hasn't been a lot of work done on these guys, so they're reported to be nocturnal and arboreal, inhabiting coniferous forests from sea level to 3,000 meters. The linsangs, closely related to the Felidae. The Hyenidae inhabit grassy plains, brushy habitats, forests, and deserts in the Middle East, India, and Africa. In Africa, the spotted hyenas are the most abundant large carnivore. The 4 extant species, each in its own genus, includes the aardwolf, and then the 3 bone-crushing species that you're probably more familiar with: the striped hyena, the brown hyena, and the spotted hyena. Hyenas are fairly large carnivores. The spotted hyena reaches 80 kilograms in body mass. The aardwolf, pictured here, tops out at just 12 kilograms. Hyenas have well-developed canines and large premolars that make the 3 species of bone-crushing hyenas highly competent hunters. They are hunting, they're not just scavenging. They're capable of killing large prey. That said, they are also highly adapted at stealing and scavenging carcasses and feeding on carrion. So they use their large carnassials and that robust hyena skull structure to crush bones and access that fat and calorically rich marrow. Although morphological growth of spotted hyenas reaches a plateau at 20 months of age, their bite strength continues to increase until they are 5 years old. The scavenging specialization of brown, striped, and spotted hyenas may allow them to minimize competition with sympatric canids out in the African savannas. They're going to regurgitate pellets of undigested material, including those bone fragments, ligaments, hair, and horns, the undigestible parts. Unlike other hyenids, the small nocturnal aardwolf shown here is Myrmecophagous, which you probably remember is a mammal that feeds on ants and termites. So, according to your book, the aardwolf can consume up to 300,000 termites in one night. Spotted hyenas are noteworthy for their laughing vocalizations. So this is just one of several types of calls, in addition to scent marking, used to communicate to conspecifics an individual's age, sex, and other information. Another really unusual but fascinating facet of hyena natural history. So spotted hyenas are unique in that the external genitalia of females resembles that of males. We got a female here on the left and a male on the right. So as noted by Frank in 1997, the female has no external vagina. Rather, the urogenital canal traverses the hypertrophied, meaning very large, clitoris, which resembles a penis in size, shape, and even erectile ability. So it isn't entirely clear why this is. So one idea that I read about is it might have something to do with hyenas' unusual social lives. So in hyena clans, female spotted hyenas are actually 10% larger than males, and unlike in most social carnivorous mammals, it's the female who is hyper-aggressive. So they are the rulers of the clan, leading hunts and asserting their dominance over males. One study found that the more dominant the female, the more she doses her fetuses with high levels of androgens, which are typically associated with males. So this is going to make her offspring more aggressive and therefore better able to fight for food in a clan of up to 80 individuals. However, as noted in your book, it's not the androgens that's causing the hypertrophied growth of the clitoris shown here. Another hypothesis argues that this female, by having such a long and large reproductive tract, it takes much longer for the sperm to reach their destination. Of course, they're trying to get to the eggs and the fallopian tubes. And so that's going to buy the female time to urinate and flush out the sperm if she wasn't all that much into the male. So this is a form of mate choice. It's sexual selection at its finest. So I first learned about the hyenas of Harar in Ethiopia by watching David Attenborough's Planet Earth 2, the episode on cities. I looked for that footage, but it's not available on YouTube. But I did find this. So in short, whereas hyenas are persecuted throughout much of Africa, they've actually entered into a mutualistic relationship with humans in the Ethiopian city of Harar. Hyenas essentially serve as the cleanup crew. They're going to clean up garbage. They're going to rid the city of dead livestock. As shown in Planet Earth 2, the butchers will actually take their waste, their discarded bones, and dump those on the outskirts of the city for the hyenas to clean up. They can exploit those with their powerful jaws. Apparently, the hyenas have even become somewhat of a tourist attraction. People visiting Harar will feed these hyenas. Could be a dangerous situation anytime you have a food-conditioned carnivore eating out of your hands. It could lead to problems. That said, if tourists are willing to pay money, then suddenly these hyenas have monetary value, and so people are more inclined to conserve them. Conservation is never easy. The family Herpestidae is comprised of between 13 and 16 genera and 35 or 36 species of mongooses that are native to Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Herpestids occur in a variety of habitats, including grasslands, savannas, forested habitats where they are feeding generalists, meaning they can take lots of different prey species. They're going to take small vertebrates, insects, carrion, and feed on vegetation as well. Several species of herpestids are well known for their ability to feed on venomous snakes, like the Indian gray mongoose and the Egyptian mongoose, as well as the slender mongoose, which I'll show you on the next slide. The best known social herpestid are the meerkats. So these guys were really popularized by the Animal Planet show Meerkat Manor. It's a good thing. Meerkats form large groups of family members in which individuals cooperate in activities such as rearing the young and detecting predators. And you may recall that meerkats are very good teachers to their offspring, teaching them how to hunt by biting off those stingers of the scorpions before offering them to their young. In this footage, the slender mongoose is going to encircle and harass the black mamba, a highly venomous snake, an aggressive snake, ultimately exhausting the mamba before delivering a lethal bite. So as your textbook points out in one of those insert boxes, the evolution of venom in snakes and then venom resistance in mammals is an evolutionary biochemical arms race. So take 2 minutes and check out this footage, will you please? The family Viverridae includes the civets and the genets, which occur only in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. There are between 13 and 14 extant genera and 33 to 37 very diverse species that are currently recognized. They're going to occupy tropical and subtropical habitats, filling a variety of ecological niches. Some vivirids are carnivorous, others are omnivorous, and still others are frugivorous. Some are even primarily scavengers. Civets and genets can be diurnal or nocturnal. They can occur singly or in groups, so lots of diversity here. They can be terrestrial, semi-aquatic, or arboreal, like this Asian palm civet, very much at home in the trees. They occur primarily in forested habitats, although we will find some vivirids in grasslands or savannas. Almost all vivirids have a perineal scent gland, which is unique among the carnivores. So these glands are generally composed of a compact mass of glandular tissue, typically lying between the anus and the vulva or the penis, and opening into a naked or sparsely haired area, which may be infolded into a storage pouch. These glands are going to produce a thick yellowish fluid, which is deemed civet oil, and is very important for these species for scent marking functions, which are going to allow them to communicate with conspecifics. Civet oil has been economically important in traditional Asian medicine, as well as humans making perfumes for thousands of years. So there are numerous farms in Ethiopia where African civets are held reportedly under very poor conditions to extract this civet oil to produce perfumes. So conservation begins by identifying those species whose populations are precipitously declining. With respect to the vivirids, the Malabar large spotted civet is recognized as critically endangered. And then the semi-aquatic otter civet, shown here, as well as the Austin civet and the large spotted civet, are all classified as endangered. The population status of several other species is probably declining or simply not known, as documented by the IUCN. The family Eupleridae represents an adaptive radiation of 7 genera and 8 or 9 species of Malagasy, meaning from the island nation of Madagascar, mongooses. The Malagasy mongooses represent a monophyletic group resulting from a single ancestor that colonizes Madagascar and then radiates. So all carnivores on the island of Madagascar are in this family, and that's based on very convincing molecular evidence. You may recall that Madagascar separated from the African mainland a whopping 155 to 170 million years ago, long before the evolution of the order Carnivora. Based on molecular clocks, the original Malagasy mongoose, or the ancestor of these mongooses, colonizes the island of Madagascar somewhere between 18 and 24 million years ago. So this is a really cool species, one of my faves. This is the Fossa. So it's the largest Malagasy mongoose. It's active during both the day and the night, hunting lemurs. That's right. So this is the primary predator on lemurs, the primates of Madagascar. The monotypic family, the Nandinidae, includes only the African palm civet. So African palm civets were formerly included with the other African and Asian civets in the family Viverridae, but based on both morphological and molecular evidence, it now warrants that they be included in their own taxonomic family. African palm civets occur throughout Central Africa in forested habitats where they're primarily arboreal, frugivorous, and nocturnal. They also take insects and small vertebrates opportunistically. And apparently, according to your textbook, African palm civets are easily tamed and can reduce rodent pests in households. Moving on to the second suborder within the order Carnivora, we'll next focus on the Caniformia. That is to say, the dog-like carnivores. And we'll start with the namesake for the suborder, the family Canidae, the dog family. Canids include the wolves, like the red wolf, pictured here, the behaviorally flexible coyote, foxes, the dhole, jackals, as well as our beloved domestic dogs. Domestic dogs, of course, evolved from wolves, that lineage splitting away some 27,000 to 40,000 years ago. There are currently 13 genera and 37 species of canids. That is, if we count the dingo and the eastern gray wolf as standalone species. If you look closely, currently the dingo is classified as a subspecies of wolf, Canis lupus dingo. The dingo was introduced to parts of Southeast Asia, New Guinea, and Australia some 3,500 to 4,000 years ago. So hybridization is really an issue with the canids. So eastern gray wolves and coyotes will hybridize, as well as coyotes and red wolves, causing serious taxonomic uncertainty. Are these hybrids a species, a subspecies? Should we be lumping the coyote and the red wolf into a species as they produce viable, fertile offspring? It's that biological species concept, which is gets a little bit mushy. So these problems were highlighted by one of my friends and former mentors at Utah State University, Dr. Eric Giese. He's done a lot of really good work on canids. So this is a great synopsis of the Mexican Wolf Recovery Program right here in the White Mountains of Arizona. It's got some really nice helicopter footage, and it's really going to show you what a career in wildlife management and wildlife veterinary sciences looks like at its best. So check out a growing population of Mexican wolves produced by Arizona Game and Fish. Canids are the most widely distributed family of carnivores, and they occur on all continents except for Antarctica. The red fox and the gray wolf actually enjoy the widest geographic distribution of any terrestrial mammal. So in terms of space, they're doing quite well. Canid habitats range from hot, dry deserts to grasslands, savannas, forests, even Arctic ice. Think about the Arctic fox. Canids like coyotes and red foxes show incredible behavioral plasticity and can now be found thriving in suburban areas in cities like our very own city, Phoenix. This is actually a canid. This is the Asian raccoon dog, which has now become an invasive species in Europe. Recall from the last lecture that there are winners and losers in the age of the Anthropocene. One of the big winners, now found in virtually every North American city, is the coyote, Canis latrans. So this is a short clip featuring the amazing and pioneering work of Dr. Stan Gert. Gerht, Dr. Gert. His work was extremely helpful to me as I completed my doctorate on urban black bears in New Jersey. So please put me on pause and take the 2 minutes and check this out. Coyotes are thriving in cities like Chicago because, as noted by Saluro Zubiri, canids are characterized by a great flexibility of diet, opportunistic and adaptable behavior, and complex social organization with much variation both within as well as between species. Canids generally take animal prey throughout much of the year. However, they can also eat plants seasonally. So wolves would very much snack on blueberries, ripe blueberries during the summer, just like us when I was doing field work on Prince of Wales Island in southeast Alaska. Jackals and hyenas often eat carrion, as we've discussed. And then the bat-eared fox here will actually consume large amounts of insects, so it's primarily insectivorous. Many canids are solitary, whereas others, like the gray wolf, the African wild dog, the dhole, the beautiful Ethiopian wolf, and the bush dogs, are going to form packs and hunt cooperatively oftentimes to access larger and more dangerous prey. The family Mustelidae is a diverse family of 22 to 23 genera and 64 species. It is the largest in the order Carnivora, and it's going to include the weasels, the badgers, the otters, the pine martens, the fishers, the polecats, and the irascible wolverine, pictured here, Gullo. Some impressive canines there. So mustelids are noteworthy for their enlarged anal scent glands, which produce a thick, powerful smelling secretion called musk, which they use for olfactory communication as well as defense. Another characteristic of mustelids, many have evolved delayed implantation of the embryo. We discussed that when we talked about reproduction. So actually mustelids constitute greater than 50% of all mammalian species known to exhibit delayed implantation. That's where the embryo, the fertilized egg, basically hangs out before implanting on the uterine wall at a later time, usually when conditions are right. So we see this, it's beneficial and very prevalent in highly seasonal climates. Mustelids occur throughout much of the world and are absent only from Australia, Antarctica, Madagascar, and oceanic islands. Mustelids are highly specialized predators that inhabit both terrestrial and arboreal habitats, as well as fresh and salt water, as seen in the otters. With respect to mustelid conservation, the European mink is critically endangered because of habitat loss, over-harvest for their pelts to make mink coats, as well as competition from the introduced American mink in Europe. The black-footed ferret, which is shown here, is on the endangered species list. So black-footed ferrets were once believed to be extinct, but have now been reintroduced at 24 sites in 8 Midwestern and Western states, although only 4 of those sites are currently considered to be self-sustaining. One of those is right here in Arizona in Williams, just outside of Flagstaff. Other endangered mustelids include the Bornean ferret badger, the sea otter, the giant otter from the Amazon, the marine otter, southern river otter, and the hairy-nosed otter. So, if you are interested in getting some excellent field experience, I have had several students who have volunteered with Arizona Game and Fish participating in black-footed ferret spotlighting surveys. So they go on all night. You have to drink a lot of coffee and stay up late. And they usually do those in March and April. So if it's something that you're interested in, this is the contact email. You can just Google black-footed ferrets in Arizona too, but it's azferret@azgfd.gov. And they ask that you put spring spotlighting in the subject line. But a great way to get outside and participate in black-footed ferret recovery just a couple hours to the north of the Phoenix Valley. The family Mustelidae includes 4 genera and 12 species, including the Sunda and the Palawan stink badgers, which occur in Indonesia, Borneo, the Philippines, and other islands in southeastern Asia, as well as 10 species that you may be more familiar with, the skunks, which occur in a wide variety of habitats from Canada all the way down to Argentina. Skunks, with their highly contrasting colors, white right next to black, they're aposematically colored, meaning the opposite of cryptic coloration. So cryptically colored species are camouflaged. Aposematically colored species are going to advertise their presence like a neon sign with striking or contrasting colors. And the idea is the predators learn to associate this coloration pattern with a noxious scented spray that's produced by the skunk anal glands. So as noted by these authors, skunk musk is an oily, yellow sulfur alcohol compound that contains sulfuric acid. I don't know if you've ever been sprayed by a skunk or had a dog sprayed by a skunk, but it is incredibly pungent. There are 4 species of skunks that live here in Arizona. This is the most common species that you'll find, often in campgrounds. The striped skunk, we had one in our camp at Apache Lake a few weeks ago. We also have spotted skunks, as well as the hooded skunk and the hog-nosed skunk. The family Procyonidae includes 6 genera and 12 to 14 species in the raccoon family. So raccoons and their relatives are restricted to the New World. They typically inhabit temperate and tropical forested areas, usually next to water. So in riparian areas, muddy areas right next to the stream is a great place to look for the distinctive raccoon tracks, plantigrade tracks. So raccoons, their geographic distribution extends from central Canada, again through Argentina. This species is remarkable. It's an elusive nocturnal species, but they are here in Arizona. This is the ringtail in the raccoon family. Another member of the Procyonidae, the raccoon family, is the white-nosed coyote, or the Coda mundi. So this species is highly social. It lives in large groups in places like the Chiricahua Mountains in Arizona. So the raccoon family, they're probably the least carnivorous of the carnivores, and as such, their dentition is really generalized and adapted for an omnivorous diet. This family does include the kinkajou, which I talked about on the opening slide. So this is the species with the prehensile tail that predominantly eats fruit. And we've made it to my beloved ursids. So the family Ursidae is the bear family. There are 5 genera and 8 species of bears that are alive on planet Earth today, and those include the American black bear, the Asiatic black bear, the brown or grizzly bear, same species found in both North America as well as Eurasia, the polar bear, the spectacled or Andean bear of South America, which I showed you on the first slide, the sun bear of Indonesia, the giant panda of China, and this species, the sloth bear, which is found on the subcontinent of India. Bears historically occurred throughout North America, in the Andes Mountains of South America, in Eurasia, in the Atlas Mountains of North Africa, but they've been extirpated throughout much of their historic ranges. Now, bears primarily occur in forested habitats as well as in high elevation alpine areas and tundra. Polar bears are unique in that it's the only bear species that hunts on Arctic sea ice. The molars of bears are broad, flat, and relatively unspecialized, reflecting the omnivorous diets that we observe in most species. That said, as we'll discuss next module, in our final module, our work in Montana in the early 2000s demonstrated just how effective American black bears can be in killing neonatal elk. So we'll come back to those carnivorous black bears. That said, only the polar bear is strictly carnivorous, feeding primarily on ringed seals on the sea ice. The sloth bear, shown on the last slide, is Myrmecophagus, meaning ant and termite eating. You should know that by now. The Asiatic black bears, shown here, as well as the sun bears in Indonesia, are going to consume a great deal of fruit. And then, of course, there's the giant panda, who subsists entirely on bamboo. As mentioned, bears have been eradicated throughout much of their historic ranges, often because of predation on domestic livestock. Great example is the Andean spectacled bear in South America, as reported by Goldstein. Asiatic black bears are illegally killed for their gallbladders, which are valuable in traditional Asian medicine. The giant panda is actually doing relatively better thanks to intensive captive breeding programs in China. The giant panda has recently been downlisted from endangered status by the IUCN. Meanwhile, the sun bear, the sloth bear, the spectacled bear, the polar bear, and the Asiatic black bear are all classified as threatened. So I know this is really hard to watch. I was kind of on the fence about whether I should include this or not, but I feel like it is important for us to see how our everyday actions, our everyday consumption of fossil fuels is contributing to the suffering of animals on the other side of the globe. So the reality is the climate is rapidly warming, faster than it has in millions of years because of anthropogenic activities. Because of the warming climate, Arctic sea ice is forming later in the winter, and it's breaking up earlier in the spring, giving polar bears a much smaller window within which to hunt ringed seals. So they have to hunt on that sea ice, and they have to accumulate enough body fat to get them through the summer months when there is no sea ice. So simply put, we have to act fast. So we have to cut our greenhouse gas emissions if this bear is to persist in the coming centuries. So please take the minute and 22 seconds and watch this video. You can also Google starving polar bear, and it will bring you to a CNN, a longer video clip that interviews the author, the videographer, that caught this footage. There are winners and losers in the Anthropocene, like the coyotes in Chicago or the bobcats in Dallas-Fort Worth. The American black bear in the mid-Atlantic United States, states like New Jersey, is thriving. So next up in Module 6, I'm going to walk you through my dissertation work as a case study. Between 2013 and 2017, I analyzed a remarkable 33-year data set on black bears provided by the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife. It included over 5,000 black bear captures, over 1,100 den surveys, and over 33,000 human black bear interactions. For my dissertation, I attempted to integrate black bear behavioral use of anthropogenic resources like trash, bird feeders, grills, pet food, all that sort of stuff that brings in bears, and the resultant spatial ecology of black bears living in the urban-suburban interface to the exponential population growth that we saw in New Jersey over the past 2 decades, primarily in and around suburban areas. I did all this in an attempt to help guide wildlife managers working with these bears on the ground, living alongside people, in an attempt to increase cultural carrying capacity for these bears. So I hope you enjoy the case study, which comes up right after this lecture. The family Aluridae is another monotypic family, and it contains only the red or the lesser panda, an endangered species. So the red panda occurs in the Himalayan mountains of northern India, Nepal, Bhutan, which is probably the top country on my bucket list, Bhutan and Palau, Myanmar, which I have been to, and south central China, where it inhabits high elevation forests with an understory of bamboo thickets. So red pandas are considerably smaller than giant pandas with a body weight of only 3 to 6 kilograms. But like the giant pandas, they too are going to feed primarily on the grass, bamboo, but they're also going to occasionally forage on other vegetation. They're also going to take insects and small vertebrates. So a bit more of a generalist diet in the red pandas in their own monotypic family. The last 3 families of carnivores in this chapter, collectively referred to as the pinnipeds, form a monophyletic clade that exhibits specialized adaptations for an aquatic existence. Pinnipeds, however, are not totally adapted for life in the water, like their cousins, the whales and the manatees, as the pinnipeds have to haul out onto rocky, generally inaccessible land or ice flows where they're slow and vulnerable to breed in rookeries, to give birth, or just to rest. Pinnipeds have evolved an exquisite array of adaptations to allow them to embark on long, deep dives, including bradycardia. They're able to reduce their heart rates, the shunting of blood from peripheral areas to the brain and the heart, which need warmth and oxygen the most. Pinnipeds have more oxygen-binding hemoglobin and myoglobin than do terrestrial mammals, and they have these massive spleens, which are really important for red blood cell storage on these deep dives. The only extant member of the family Odobenidae is the walrus. So walruses have a circumpolar distribution. They live in shallow Arctic waters, where they remain near ice flows and rocky shorelines. They're not really deep divers, although they can. Average body mass of an adult bull walrus is about 1,000 kilograms, although they can reach 1,600 kilograms, which is over 3,500 pounds, the big bulls. As is typical of pinnipeds and most other carnivores like bears and cats, the males are significantly larger than the females. Sexual size dimorphism. Walrus skin is thick and wrinkled, and underneath there is a layer of blubber that can reach 15 centimeters. A significant feature in both male and female walruses are these really prominent tusks, which are enlarged upper canines and grow throughout the walrus's life and can reach as long as 100 centimeters, which is almost 40 inches. That's a long canine tooth. Tusks are used for defense, for raking the bottom, for mollusks, for breaking through ice, for hanging on to ice floes while resting in the water. Among males, however, dominant males are very aggressive, and they're going to establish these dominance hierarchies using those tusks to battle subordinates. The walruses feed primarily on clams and other bivalve mollusks, as well as a variety of invertebrates taken from the muddy sea bottom. Walruses are gregarious, meaning they cluster in big, large groups. They often huddle together and form social groups of up to 1,000 individuals. The family Otaridae is comprised of the eared seals, including the fur seals and the sea lions, which you may be familiar with if you paid a visit to the California coast. The otarids inhabit subpolar, temperate, or coastal waters of western North America, South America, Asia, southern Australia, and New Zealand, as well as oceanic islands. Otarids feed on fish, cephalopods, and crustaceans, usually throwing their heads back and swallowing their prey whole. Otarids are generally more gregarious, meaning they cluster together in large numbers than terrestrial carnivores, and breeding colonies of fur seals and sea lions can reach up to 1 million individuals in certain areas. So this is a really great, exciting day trip that I highly recommend. This is a picture from Bird Island off the coast of Rocky Point, just a few hours to the south down in Mexico in the Sea of Cortez. It's about an hour boat ride, and it's a really easy and inexpensive way to check out a sea lion rookery. I highly recommend it. And finally, the last Pinniped family is the Phocidae. So these are the earless seals. It includes 14 genera and 19 extant species. Phocids occur primarily in polar and subpolar as well as temperate waters around the world. Only the Hawaiian monk seal and the Mediterranean monk seals inhabit tropical areas. The smallest phocid is the Bacchial seal, which is restricted to the freshwater Lake Bacchial. Those little seals have a body mass of only 35 kilograms. Whereas the largest earless seal is the southern elephant seal, which can reach 4,000 kilograms. We talked about elephant seals when we talked about mammalian mating systems. Most earless seals eat fish and cephalopods. However, this is an exception. So this is the leopard seal. So it's going to primarily prey on warm-blooded animals like penguins. And this is just such an amazing shot. Talk about timing. Leopard seals are also going to take the young of other seals. So here's some really epic video of a very determined leopard seal chasing a penguin. It's definitely worth a couple minutes of your time. The monk seals are not doing very well. So the Mediterranean monk seal has fewer than 700 mature individuals left in its entire population. Both the Hawaiian and the Caspian monk seals are endangered. The Caribbean monk seal was last seen in the early 1950s and is considered extinct. All right, you're almost finished. Just one more small order. The order Pholidota is comprised of the pangolins, or the scaly anteaters. There are 8 species of pangolins. 4 of them inhabit Africa, south of the Saharan Desert, and then the other 4 species are found either in Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, Southeast Asia, southern China, or Indonesia. Pangolins inhabit forests, savannas, sandy areas. Their distribution is closely related to the occurrence of their primary prey, ants and termites. All pangolins lack teeth. Instead of having teeth, they use long, powerful tongues to forage inside of termite mounds. The tongue is so long, it's actually anchored to the sternum and is going to extend all the way down practically to the kidneys. Pangolins, like anteaters, have sticky, viscous saliva that's secreted onto the tongue by large salivary glands in the chest cavity and is going to allow those termites to adhere to that tongue. Unfortunately, pangolins are hunted for their scales, which are simply made up of the protein keratin. So no other group of mammals is illegally trafficked more than pangolins. Their scales are used as adornments, as good luck charms. In Asia, because powdered pangolin scales are believed to be of medicinal value, populations of Asian pangolins have declined 50 to 90%. All species of pangolins are declining. However, the Malayan and Chinese pangolins are critically endangered. The Indian and Philippine pangolins are endangered. So this just breaks my heart. It's just so disgusting and short-sighted. So this picture was taken on April 29th, 2015 in Medan in Indonesia after a pangolin bust conducted by the Indonesian National Police in cooperation with the Wildlife Conservation Society's Wildlife Crimes Unit. So they confiscated thousands of dead pangolins, and they've placed them in this pit to be burned and buried so their scales don't wind up on the black market. Another one that's difficult to watch, but again, I feel it important for you to see because you are the mammalogists. If you aren't working to change human behaviors, then I don't know who is. Please watch Pangolins, the Most Trafficked Mammal You've Never Heard Of by National Geographic. And with that, I thank you so much for your attention. Please reach out to me if you have any questions or comments or concerns. And next up, we have the New Jersey black bear case study. So it'll be kind of a nice break. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Thanks.